misfits, one and all, to this episode of Midnight Ranting. No gods physically exist. Dun, 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 but true.
Or spiritually exist. Physically or spiritually, yeah.
Exactly. In fact, in this episode of Midnight Ranting, we're exploring the idea that gods do not physically exist in reality, but only as concepts in our minds and in media, books and video games. James, they're making a Jesus video.
Cultural creations, yeah.
Oh, yes.
They exist in culture. As you always like to say, you know, that they can't tell us who created God, but we kind of can.
Yeah, most of the gods that people seem to believe in, we know the vast majority of the roots of how they developed and the chains by the religions that they came from. I continue to say, you know, Judaism and Zoroastrianism mixed together to really create Christianity and Islam and the wonders of religion. And Jews were Canaanites. It is a Canaanite religion. And so it just, you know, it branches and branches and branches. Anyway, yes, in our minds and in our media. But we'd love to hear your thoughts in tonight's open mic as you share your perspective. So won't you join myself, Amy Newman, and James W. as we have a physically good time.
We're back, baby. It's prime time. It's Saturday night. We're on. This is our bread and butter, old bread and butter. Thank you, Newman.
In the late night slot, sending love, everybody out there. What is up, Binge Thinker? What is up, Sideshow Nav? What is up, Pseudonym and God equals the square root of -1? Is my audio muffled, James? Tell me if it is.
You sound okay to me, but I'm not like an audio. A lot of people say all the audio always sounds like shit, and I always think it's all right, but don't listen to me, but I think it's all right.
Well, keep on sending in the love. I'm sending in and giving me feedback. But yes, everyone, I want to thank everyone for joining us out there on the inner tubes. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all of the other things that we hear so regularly that it gets integrated into horror movies. There's a lot of podcasters.
Now they all that hype. You have to hype now too. Like, follow, hype, subscribe, donate.
Don't face max, or I'm trying to remember, looks max, or whatever the thing is. Please don't hit yourself in the face with the hammer to look better. All of these weird things that come up in my channel, James, or my feed. It's not those articles. It's articles or videos about those people who do it. We live in interesting times.
Indeed. These are not normal times.
Well, but hey, we get to be at war. Who doesn't love a good war? See, and now I must be going to reset.
You hear Ryder's chiming off, sounding off.
Right, I have made it set to the actual microphone. Maybe that'll make it better. I don't know. We are a skeptic channel. However, after the two schmucks stop speaking, we will be opening up the floodgates, or rather the open mic, so anyone can say what's on their mind about the topic. We also like to give everyone a chance to have their own opening, closing statements, atheist, liberal, Atheist or theist, liberal or conservative, come as you are, just please not on my sheets. That's just more for the femboy to have to wash. Please head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman, including all of the love I have to send all of the amazing people out there. But with that, and as well
That's right, Maya.
on our YouTube
That's right.
membership. What's up, Maya? The pleasure is unfortunately theism still exists. And so here we are.
You would have thought by now, right? I mean,
oh, James, this is why we're not on Mars. Actually, there's a few reasons why we don't go to Mars. And, you know,
we are going back to the moon, and that's kind of amazing if you think about it. Like,
yes.
Like, you just looking at like the especially like the flat earthers, they are like in full panic mode right now because the whole space is fake. People, because they for so long they've been able to say, oh, we haven't gone back to the moon in 50 years. We never went there to the first place. We can't go back today. Well,
and then here we are.
We kind of are doing it. So
no, not only is that awesome, but we should keep on funding space travel. It's going to be the government agencies ultimately that are going to do the long-term missions, and then the private enterprise is going to be the one to supply them the whole way. That's generally the way that it goes. And, you know,
at least now, anyway.
I'm okay with working in tandem. It's just the two can't be confused. The big projects in life, in society, tend to be public. And yet the private sector, once the safe travel has been paved, then comes in and they are able to tell their stakeholders, well, no, this isn't risky. We're actually going to make a lot of money because we can make whatever the government did, we can do it better. And now they come in and help have supply lines and have innovation.
Chop up the moon and sell it to you piece by piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, what can I tell you? It's just that you need both. You shouldn't rely on, you know, one saving the other or vice versa, because they do different things. The government is not generally in the business of making money. It collects taxes, but through its projects, it generally spends more. And private enterprises are generally not in the business of losing money. And so space travel is very risky. And, you know, there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of things you have to try for the first time. And yet, again, I can't completely disregard the private sector, because once you explore whatever new territory that you have done, the private sector should now be coming in and being basically either, again, the fuel supply line for multiple ways. You know, if we decide to terraform on Mars, you're going to need them to get food there and things like that. But and for
golf
innovation,
courses on the moon and Mars, yes,
exactly. And you know, governments aren't that great at innovation. You know, they're great at big projects, and so you know, have both. I can't help it, James. I'm a liberal. I'm gonna keep on pushing my mixed economies and all that stuff. What's up, Music Piper? What's up, Brian? What's up, everybody? What's up, Magus?
Brian.
We are gonna open it up soon because I know James and myself don't really have a big speech. I want to eventually get back in the habit, getting, you know, those opening statements, laying some groundwork, but we have to do some calls out into the wild and see if there are indeed some, you know, some natural theists out there, James.
Put her bait out there and see if we can reel us a few live ones in.
Yes, indeed. In fact, speaking of which, let's get into it. We are indeed having our Midnight Ranting on No Gods Physically Existing. I'm going to be sending the link into chat and pinning it. If you agree or disagree, now is the time to do so. But James, any thoughts about the subjects?
Reminds me of a guy who did a stream where he invited gods to come on. And he did the same stream over and over and over again, like consecutive days, like for weeks on end. I don't think he ever got a deity to come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
You recall the particular individual?
No, now I'm trying to remember, but
this is a guy who had blood that was below the freezing point of water.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I remember it was an atheist, wasn't it?
It was an atheist, yeah. Debated Ken Hoven. Has a doctorate degree.
See, I remember he and yet the name eludes me, but I know who I know you're talking about now. He's a good guy, even if we all have our
president's first name. President's name.
Oh, Donald.
Yeah, Donald.
Yeah. Sending love to
there
Donald.
You go.
But okay, sending love to all atheists, theists, whoever you are. Come on, come on. We are Midnight Ranting tonight. I'll continue to throw at least the claim that I've been saying for a while now, is that no gods exist. We are, James, dare I say something naughty, we are what would be considered hard atheists. And I'm still an agnostic atheist, but I would say that I am hard enough to say that the gods that all of these humans have created do not exist. Christianity
I don't think any exist.
Exactly. Yeah. Judaism isn't real. Islam isn't real. Hinduism isn't real. And when I mean isn't real, I don't mean like the religions don't exist. I mean the gods do not exist in a physical sphere. We can write about them in a book from our mind. We can then take the ideas in that book and we can make movies and games and all sorts of things about them. However,
make religions up about them.
Make entire religions, make competing religions, and yet they will never be physically real unless we find a way to manifest them into being. But again, even then, we would be their creator. There is not a time in which
I don't know.
They are not contingent on us.
I don't know, Sinister.
We're being naughty. That is what we're doing.
I don't know.
We are looking with a giant net for some theists. Atheists, feel free to
want to come on with any insights.
That's right. But there are two atheists right here who will continue to say no gods exist until someone, I guess, puts us in our place.
Beamsy, he used to say that his gods exist outside of reality. They're not part of this reality. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to disprove that, but
Beamsy was such a good ally against the vast majority of woo-woo and these Abrahamic monotheists that seem to plague our society and Earth.
He sure was.
No offense to all of you. And so we kind of gave him a pass on that. If we ended up having a debate versus atheists versus theists, we would probably attack every one of his beliefs. Nonetheless, we love you, Beamsy. He's a smart guy. He is a geologist who does actual field work. And so we love him.
Used to skewer those flat earthers.
And flat eartherism uniquely is almost 100% a creationist phenomena, which is another weird thing. From the outside, we all make jokes about flat Earth, but it really is because God allows us to exist on this flat plane, James. That is what they almost universally tell me. Ah, good times.
What's it got? Where's the world going to? We got Ken Hoven back on Modern Day Debate.
Oh my goodness. And Ken is a grifter. He has always been a grifter. He has not changed his shtick in all of the years. And I know, like you were saying, he's got a defense of it. You know, if it's not broken, why change it, James? If it's been right for
he was debating Noah's flood. And the thing is, the guy who was debating is obviously like never like researched him before, because he was asking well, Amy, how would you keep the predators from the prey on the ark? And of course, Amy knows the answer to that as well. They just say there were no predators. They were all vegetarians.
James,
they were all vegetarian.
These teeth, exactly. All the teeth of all the carnivores.
They were all vegetarian.
Were just flat, and it was great. They actually, all of the tigers, anytime that they saw an antelope, they would actually go over and hug the antelope. It's our fault. It's all that sin.
Playing shuffleboard. The tigers and the antelope were playing shuffleboard on the ark.
But I also like how we just assume everything bad happens because of the fall of man. But really, the fall of man just is very specific things. It's really just sucks for biological women, people who have to menstruate. Very specifically, they have to have painful childbirth.
Childbirth would be painful, yes.
Yes, exactly. And another concept that someone brought up within the skeptic community, Jesus came back, fulfilled that prophecy, still have painful childbirth.
The physical effects of sin still remain. He doesn't take away all that, you know. But that's why even some like hyper-Orthodox Jewish women and fundamentalist Christian will not take painkillers during childbirth, because they believe this pain is important for them. They need to feel that pain.
Gotta feel. Listen, it brings you closer to God, James.
They were meant to feel that.
And yet God equals, I have met a single person that was either an atheist flat earther, or what I think they were an atheist evolutionist, which is really just anti-biology. But eventually they were almost contrarian in almost every view that they had.
Friend, right?
Yes, exactly. And then he eventually converted. So, like, you know,
he became a Christian.
It didn't last. I'm pretty sure he did.
What's his name?
Forever. Was it Adam?
Makes sense, yeah.
It was something like that.
And these objections to evolution weren't much better than Brett's, unfortunately. I mean, they weren't as infantile as Brett Keene's, but not too far off.
And I'm sure he's still a theist, unfortunately.
Brett?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brett. Yeah. I've lost hope for that man before I ever gained it. I never really had hope for him, but...
Well, it's one of those where he was originally a YouTube atheist. And then, you know, but he's been a YouTube Christian now for so long that it really would be jarring to... But, you know, I liked his... I don't know if it was a phase or his idea that God was evil. I could get behind that, James. I don't believe in the concept of a God, and nonetheless, it would make a lot more sense. I was talking with a theist the other day, and I tried to bring up childhood cancer, and he immediately pivoted to like, well, who has the most people that has AIDS? And I'm like, I'm sorry. We were talking about these random children that have done nothing wrong, nothing ever. So could you maybe explain the whole, 5-year-olds having cancer? I'm pretty sure they haven't done anything wrong.
Oh, well, that's because of sin. So when death had to enter the world and all these bad things had to happen because man sinned.
Yeah, well, he said something like, you don't know what that child's done. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure children, unless it was a super evil, like a Hitler-level child, I'm pretty sure. Never let Smokey Saint live down his charges. No, never let Smokey 500 feet within a school zone. Do. They all find. Well, a lot of them find God after charges. It depends on the charges. Like, what's his name? Who's now in jail?
Khalil.
Khalil. And what's his name has also found his religion.
Oh yeah, does he really still pretend not to be Josh? Yeah, I think that's like almost tongue in cheek at this point.
That's like what's his name isn't Gary. They just got to accept who they are. Yeah. Darth Dawkins, yeah. Come on now.
Gary, it's dinner time.
It's dinner. Oh, I'm sure he's.
I have an engagement. I have to a previous appointment. I have to go meet.
Yeah, Russell Brand. Thank you. Yes, I'm pretty sure that he has previous engagements and meetings, mostly scheduled by his mom and mac and cheese. But Russell Brand was he's another one who's like, he found Jesus, and then coincidentally it was around the same time that the law system found charges. Dude, it's funny how that happens, James.
Was he charged with Russell Brand?
Grape and assault.
Oh, okay.
And so it's, and also it's just weird when he defends those kind of allegations by mixing God into the equation. It just makes you seem more guilty to me. Like, I'm not saying he didn't find God. I'm sure he was hiding somewhere. Peekaboo, hide and seek champion multiple years in a row. But like, it's just weird how they seem to pop up every time that what's the analogy? Their penis does? Oh, I got there.
Well, it's a recurring thing, you're saying.
It's just a recurring theme. It's odd that every time that assault charges come out, that
Victoria, you are Victoria pops up.
What's up, Victoria? What's up, everyone out there? Sending so much love. And please continue to join us if you would like. Atheist and skeptic, always invited. We love having you on here. But theist, creationist.
We got Big Screen Bird's attention. Big Screen Bird. Great to see you, man. It's been a long time.
Listen, that's my filter as well. I just want to say so. But yes, sending so much love. And my goodness. Speaking of assault charges, the Catholic Church. I'm glad we have a liberal pope, but we guess we should never live that kind of thing down either. They kind of pass them around. Bill Burr's joke is like, worse than SeaWorld passed around those whales. Just bite someone and then off to somewhere else.
The institution, unfortunately, is not going away anytime soon.
No, that's why.
Yeah,
it's but one of the most horrific scandals that I can imagine their institution will ever have, and at the same time, I like a liberal Chicago Pope. like because I like liberals. Not does that make sense? You have to take your victories in small things. In that way, it's almost not like atheist versus theist. It's like he's gonna sit here and be like, everybody should love everybody, and that is naturally gonna piss off the asshole in charge because he wants to fit the definition of the Antichrist, apparently. And I'll continue to say, I don't think there actually is an Antichrist. And there's many things about him that are, I'm sure, just as boring as anyone else. If you actually, I also I know that I hate he should not be named because a lot of his qualities are the qualities I dislike about myself. Like they're crappy Northeastern qualities. Like the fact that I can survive off McDonald's for months off end. Does that make sense? And that my blood is red only because the ketchup is that same color. I don't think that I have blood vessels anymore. I'm fairly sure 90% ketchup. And thus, there are things that I see in him that I go, oh God, but just don't do that out loud. You're not supposed to. Nonetheless,
the McDonald's thing.
The things that truly I hate about him, we don't share in common. Like he has no empathy. He looks at people, I swear, who like give to charities, and he just tries to go, but you had money, and then you gave it to these people, and now you're telling me you have less money. Oh my God, it's a terrible deal.
Why would you do that?
Why would you? A marity? A farity? Charity. Ugh, disgusting. What's up, Team Nancy? I don't know. I dislike him not for the left-right divide. I'll continue to say, I've said that forever because he's not a conservative. I can dislike conservatives as we can get into the liberal, the left and the right and all that. But that dude, I'll continue, and but I think his honest opinion, I don't know when's the last time he hired illegals. Also, if you disagree with anything I say, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, wink, wink, the link is right down there. Gender is a hot thing, apparently. James, that continues.
Once again?
No, but like, it was over. I could feel the cultural tide coming to an end, like on the topic, and it's just so weird to have it artificially cracked open, and then cracked open in such a way that is like to flood the gates with the issue, and then whenever you talk about it or you bring this up, oftentimes to the people, they just roll your eyes and they go, oh no, this just started, James. This just happened last year. People started talking about it like Tuesday. You guys, gals just brought it up. And it's like, but James, my transition is older than many of the people that I like. It's 2 decades. It's 20 years old. My transition is about to be legal enough to drink.
Legal enough to smoke, almost, yeah.
At a certain point, you go, no, I'm pretty sure culturally. Now, here's one thing I'll put out there, okay? I'm going to put a card down, which I think is very important.
Mr. Newman.
I miss her. She on Discord and all that stuff, my face is her icon. She has taken my face and she drew a demon. Yes, still to this day. But what I'm trying to say, and if anyone disagrees or wants to debate gender, I'm now all for it. Because, James, I've come full circle. It's been one of those things where most of my life, it was like, don't talk about it. My mom would say, listen, I accept you. I love you. Your friends accept you. They love you.
Who
but the world
cares?
will not. And so just don't bring it up. Never talk about it. It never, ever has to be. And for like a decade and a half, that was the way it was. And now it is like the pressure just feels immense to that be like the name of the game. James, it's the #1 issue in the country. Don't you know? If the economy doesn't matter, we don't need to worry about foreign policy.
It's really the only thing that matters, right?
It really is. James, these 5 women specifically, the trans men, they can go fuck themselves, we don't care. But the trans women specifically, the 5 of them, they take precedent over making sure that, again, all the women and men have health care in the state. Way more pressing, okay? More lives are at stake, probably, somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
And it haunts me, James. It haunts me. Because can I tell you the irony as a trans woman? Generally, the 90 of us, I can't say we don't give up about sports. I'm sure a lot of trans women like to watch sports, but the amount of us who want to play them anymore, that's kind of why we transitioned. I don't.
Sport. She's got that sports hat somewhere. Don't make her whip it out.
What is this stream about? An excellent question. I would say primarily this stream is us talking about why gods physically don't exist. I'm going to point correctly. There we go. And so we are atheists. We're agnostic atheists. I would dare say agnostic atheist, anti-theist. Ooh, to be
you could say
enough.
That.
But we are a free speech channel for whatever those words are worth anymore.
For the most part.
And so, yes, well, don't break the TOS, exactly. But feel free to come on and say whatever you want about really that or any topic. And like I said, I'm here to talk about gender. I've been pulled, screaming. I can't even say the expression. I've been dragged, kicking and screaming. There we go.
Listen, they held her down and dyed her hair blue. They held her down. Okay, she fought it.
The piercings actually generated on my face. What is the matter if he physically existed or not? Good question. Because society reacts depending upon these beliefs. And so if you believe that a God is true, well, you're going to act in a certain way, most likely. I can't... Deistic
the Christians say that all the time.
Oh. Exactly.
Well, they don't want to admit that God's real, that he made the world and he made some rules about it. They don't want to follow those rules.
Yeah, and if you pick a specific God, it may have, like James just said, it may have very specific rules. If you're going to pick Christianity,
hundreds of pages of rules. He may want to regulate everything. Everything.
Exactly.
They may want to regulate how you use the bathroom, how you do anything.
A lot of the people who say we don't want regulation from the government, okay, well, we don't want the same thing from an even more powerful force. I don't know why they would want that being to control their lives.
Well, they say like a celestial. Was Dill Honey used to say celestial Kim Jong-un, North Korea dictatorial 100%. State. Yeah.
Doesn't physically exist if even things that are physical are not physical. Well, that is another great question. Can things that are not physical exist? I would argue that everything has a physical medium in some context, even our thoughts. Our thoughts, yes, abstractly, and a lot of times we speak colloquially. That is to say, in a normal conversation, we use a lot of this language a lot more loose. But if you want to be specific, then yeah, our neurons are firing, and this is the way, chemically, that we're able to have thoughts. It has a physical, to use the Jordan Peterson word, it has a physical substrate. We're pulling out our fanciness tonight. a medium,
physical
a physical
basis
medium.
to it.
Yes, exactly. What's up, everybody? Sending love, if we hadn't said it already, to Robin and Sinister and Pseudonym and everybody out there. We are really looking to start streaming again. It might be just James and myself ranting and responding tonight.
We can handle that. We can handle a little ranting.
Yeah. Oh, it honestly, it feels good to get things off our chest. James, can you tell me what time in history we're at right now? I'll give you a hint. We are at war with a Middle Eastern country. Oh, that doesn't help.
Obviously.
Never mind. Yeah. The answer was a good portion of U.S. history.
At least over the past like 50 years, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That seems to be our modus operandi, Middle Eastern wars. You know?
Yes, and I don't know why we have not learned our lesson. That's the way you were able to have thoughts, but the thoughts themselves exist beyond the physical material. Why would they? They're a result of processing, and this processing should have the potential. It very specifically, neurons, which are cells like any other, yes, they need about 10 times the amount of energy. They're very hungry, but they're doing the same thing. They are just sending chemical responses down through our brain, and we are processing data and sending out outputs. There's nothing non-physical if we want to get to a physics and chemistry level. Like if we want to not be technical and just talk, in the non-scientific level, you can say there are mental things, but mental states ultimately have to come from somewhere. The mere extraction of its potential, of its existence. I don't know what its potential. See, I don't potential already, not to push back, but seems sloppy to me because our thoughts aren't potential. They're happening. It's hard to catch it in a bottle because the moment you think of a thought, it almost feels like a loop. You feel like, for me, I always feel like this freezing moment trying to wait for the next thought once I try to actually think about it. And yet,
what is a thought?
I mean,
can you take it? Can you put it in a bottle? Can you jar a thought?
And that is I would say the hard, a hard problem of trying to explain qualia and things like that. But I would say that no, the only way you could jar a thought would either be you scoop up brain matter, which would damage the brain, or we eventually are able to hook ourselves up to machines. And you're able to say, in some ways, we're already able to make predictions. We're able to hook people up and say, if you were going to pick red or blue or whatever, we can have those a second before you are able to do so.
They can tell what it's going to be before you actually decide, yeah.
Exactly. And the same, maybe even more sophisticated in the future, where we really are able to print out what we are thinking. That's science fiction right now, but it's not that far away. To exist before it came into existence. I mean, it just is getting fuzzy with me. It's mere extraction of its potential, of its existence. Yeah. What potential? I understand what you're saying of things that have potential. A runner has the potential to get number one, but that's a hypothetical. It doesn't make it true. It's like saying that everything there is to exist exists already.
That's
on the
true,
number
Rob.
pi. I mean, that in some
all
sense
three cults are war.
Oh, that is the funniest thing about this current war. Another thing I want to point out: there is no liberals in this war, not a single one. It is our right wing with Israel's right wing, with Saudi Arabia's right wing versus Iran's right wing. The liberals, for better or for worse, are eating popcorn because we have no power. And it is unfortunately because the pendulum just goes back and forth and we just hit it on the downswing. And it was a bad time to have it on this downswing. I think we're going to get it back really hard as it corrects itself. But
really hard.
Really hard and tight.
Very long and very hard.
And sending love, a $2 super chat. Describe an epiphany on your view or for fun. When you mean an epiphany, do you mean a time I changed my mind or kind of like a eureka moment?
Sudden realization.
I mean, I've had many slow realizations. My really come to anti-theism and harder atheism, even while maintaining that 1% of agnosticism, pushing back harder on specific tenets of Christianity and Islam. Who Jesus was would make no sense to me. If he was a perfect man, he would not go around saying that he was the son of a god. And that seems very counterintuitive to Christians, and yet that makes a lot of sense to me. And learning about passages in Islam, like the ant, the surah, the ant, and things like this, which are just as silly as a talking donkey. Let's see. I could go on and on, but sending so much love. I see another $2 super chat. Very fun. Glad y'all. Sucks, I gotta go, but I'm just sending.
Thank you, pseudonym.
Thank you, pseudonym. I'm coming by. I see you, Aladdin. We're sending love. Pseudonym is giving us love.
Speaking of that, Godless Engineer did another fellow Jesus mythicist. He did a debate on mythicists the other day. That was pretty good. He usually does a good job on those.
I love Godless Engineer.
Yeah, he's a good debater. He's a good Jesus mythicist, a minimal mythicist like myself. And yeah, he did a good job.
Sending love to Godless Engineer. Check him out. And do a blueprint of a building only come into existence after someone created it, or did it exist in the abstractive realm, let's say, before someone actually... Well, we could separate this into two different things. You could say that you have to... Well, it also depends on the artist. There's probably some artists that don't need to have a lot of mental preparation, but it does on some level have to start in your brain. You have to think of it. You have to at least use your brain to pick up the pencil and you control your hand. And so you then use your brain to create some sort of schematic, to create some sort of buildable thing that we can use as in society. Because they generally do highly specific, amazing things, and this allows us lay people to build it. At least that's what the IKEA engineers are hoping.
IKEA engineers team up with Bob Ross to make buildable reality scenes. Yeah.
Yes. Can I tell you?
Build your own sunset. Yeah.
There is the fantasy concept, the SCP community, where they create all these horror sci-fi things, and there is one where there is created an endless IKEA. It just goes on and on and on. It's good times. Good time.
I remember the time you were trying to explain that to me, SCP, what that actually is. That was kind of a...
It is a government...
SCP number 206, and like, you don't know what SCP-206 is?
Great.
Like, no, I don't know.
Great.
Okay, this is going to be a while, but...
It is, because they're a government agency that hides classified either people or artifacts that would almost always be either kill or destroy the people interacting with it or destroy the world. And so there's all these sorts of just paranormal and all crazy things in this community that and then there's a great video game that was created, and then, you know, I'm sure they're going to create movies and all sorts of things off of it. But sending love to SCPs. Yes, for a $5 super chat. Woohoo! Sending so much love to Sinister. I lost a Yu-Gi-Oh game once and got sent to the abstraction realm. I think. That's probably true. But you know, Sinister, I understand how you escaped. And this joke is gonna go over James's head, and I don't care. The reason that you were able to escape, Sinister, is because you had the heart of the cards. Okay, anyway, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh joke. It's basically every good anime, James, if you think about it, all right? And I know you don't watch a lot of anime, but it's about the friends you make along the way, James. Friends.
Right. I was trying to ask. I actually had a conversation with an AI trying to figure out the appeal of anime the other day.
And did they convince you?
They just said, "Oh, well, it's got like something for everybody. There's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's this, there's that. You know, adult themes in cartoon format."
It is. They're able to do sometimes a lot of adult subjects that probably get underestimated because they are a cartoon. I have two favorite cartoons. James, all right? I'm going to suggest one. If you want to go American, my favorite right now is Invincible. You should watch Invincible because of how I want to feel really artsy and say subversive. But because it turns things on its head, you have expectations and a lot of them get blown out. And it's probably the bloodiest media I've ever seen. And it kind of deserves it. Like, it doesn't do it to where it feels gory. It feels weighted. And so you're supposed to feel horrible when it gets really bloody. So sending love to title card. Again, that joke will go over your head, but I have to make them, James. I'm contractually obligated.
You just continued making.
And so Invincible, and then the other, and the best way I would say is watch the live action of this instead of the actual anime if you want to get into it. But you should watch One Piece. I am a giant One Piece fangirl because I'm way past episode 1000. I'm 1100. We just passed 1111 the other day.
Wait, how many are there?
Probably only another 100 or so past where I am.
So you're almost done.
Yes. Rachel and I specifically, we waited until, because they have arcs, almost like seasons, because they're pirates, so they count when they go from one island to another island as an arc. And so this will mean nothing to you right now, but I am on the egghead. The egghead. What's that?
What sort of pirates are you talking about?
Pirates like Scallywag Yard.
Okay. All All right.
And yet the main characters are good pirates. And so, because to them, being a pirate means freedom, really means going after your dreams. And dare I say it, even this, whether Oda Sensei disagrees, it is about the friends we meet along the way, James. I'll continue to say it.
Say it.
Oh my God, you should watch it. 1,000 episodes. I would watch 1,000 more easily. All right.
Can you avoid anything with that many episodes? Just
I get it.
Who has time for that?
It's intimidating. It is very intimidating, and yet another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, Sinister, and thank you, Pseudonym. What if our body is just an infrastructure? Am I playing a sim game once, twice, three, trice, or fries? Amy and James, yes.
Thank you,
in fact, I think about this all the time. We are walking, talking ecosystems. And so, whatever you put into your body, that I put, unfortunately, horrible fast food in most days of the week. And that, I like to view ourselves as that, because we are not only multicellular. First of all, we have multiple DNA strands running through our body, but we, inside of us, have a lot of just an entire environment of multicellular life. We have the gut bacteria, keeping us safe, and a whole bunch of other things that, we probably have things that live naturally on top of our body we can't even see. And so, they're there for the ride. It is crazy to think about, but indeed. Create or discover. Oh, thank you. I'm going to keep that up there, actually. But Aladdin also wants to ask, create or discover. Depends on the subject. I will continue to make the claim that animals are the only known creators in the universe right now. It's a big universe, and we only know the fingernail's worth of it. And yet animals are the creatures that move. And I always get flack from creationists in weird ways, because they obviously think that we are so freaking cool. Humans are either humans are the only creators, or again, it's God that is the only creator. But creations are all around us. This coffee cup, the cell phone, these are actual creations. And creations can be as simple as a spear or a fork. You could literally just pick up a twig and start drawing algorithms out as a teacher, and that is a tool that you are having created. And so creations do not have to be complex, but they can be. Systems often get complex over time. Oftentimes you create a website, and that website starts as a simple one, and as you create more and more, it becomes complex. You create a login system, you create an FAQ, you create all these different things, piece by piece.
An about page.
An about page, exactly.
A contact us page.
A hot, streamy streams page. Why, come join our panel. Come join us.
OnlyFans. Oh, no.
Does God have an OnlyFans? Come join us if you would like. See, I saw, again, it's probably clickbait, but it was supposedly a man from India who used AI-generated images to create a fake MAGA page, and he was able to pay for a considerable amount of med school. And interesting times that we live in. That's the other thing that it's hard to resist, James, is I've been trying not to do politics for most of our online, thing, and I feel increasingly drawn to do so. I feel increasingly. I feel
Can't get away
like
from it.
Yes. Well, it feels like the liberalism that I thought was very close to becoming borderline bootlicker. Like I used to say and I still do. I would say I'm very proud to be a member of Western society because of how far, I mean, we're not there yet, but of how far in the right direction they have been moving towards women, minorities, and the LGBTQ. And I get it. They were saying, oh, the virtue signaling and oh, they're putting he, she in their profile and all that. And honestly, what that was, I'm starting to realize because it was never us that initiated that, James. Like there wasn't a transgender that was like, please, everyone, please put he or she in your profile. What that was straight people were liberal enough, aware of the causes enough that they were starting to do it on their own. And we were starting to create a more polite society. And again, did the transgenders do that? Well, we did by protesting and marching and saying we feel prideful. The reason we also choose pride, because they sometimes they want to say, well, I feel prideful, because it is the opposite of shame. We're trying to counter that you should be shameful to be LGBTQ. And so it doesn't make a great slogan to go, being LGBTQ is okay. Being LGBTQ is okay. So it sounds a little bit better.
Right.
And so we were getting to this point. I say, James, it felt like it depends on the thing. A golden age in some respects, because you're never gonna you're gonna go to the homeless person and you're gonna say, does it feel like a golden age to you? And they're gonna say, well, I can't, eat any of that moral progress that you're talking to me about. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to disparage or say that it was perfect. What I'm saying is the arc was going in the right direction. And
for certain things,
yes, well, I mean, there's certain things that I would love to change. We're also now going into such debt. It used to be the conservatives were the ones talking about debt, and again, I am probably more of a spender for the government than I am a saver. But I mean, we just could have fed a lot of people. We could have given each other health insurance instead of dropping bombs. Again, I don't like the concept of a girls' school. If you think about it, that actually has segregation built into it. Nonetheless, maybe we shouldn't be bombing girls' schools, James. I know I'm taking very brave decisions tonight, but I have been very pro not bombing girls' schools. Oh my God.
And I mean, that's one of the reasons why you only go to war when it's absolutely necessary, because things like that are unavoidable in war. You don't do it for unless it's absolutely necessary.
Absolutely. Well, and that's I've been trying to square my pacifism with supporting the Ukraine side of the war. And I'm realizing that you should not support an offensive war, and you should always support the side of a defensive war, almost always. Like, Putin tried to invade another country because he thought that the land was almost owed to him because it was former USSR land. It was within his sphere of influence, and he can make a case, well, they speak Russian here. A certain amount of them. There's a certain amount of discontent. I should be able to just take it. I think you should be able to defend that. I am so tired of Israel and Palestine. I am on the side of the Israelis and the Palestinians, civilians. Both sides equally, and none of their leaders. The leaders being Hamas and Bibi Netanyahu, who has long overstayed his welcome. I'm tired of this far right, James. I'm tired of both sides saying, well, it's the other guy. Because that's what both sides do. And I'm not both sidesing it either. Because it's the leaders. If you want to, I guarantee you, it is not the fish salesman in Gaza. It is not the fucking student in Israel. It is these leaders who are making decisions for the civilians because they believe that they have God on their side. And yet, James, you know what's funny?
Not Netanyahu.
God
He's
doesn't
secular.
seem to come down.
Is he?
You could say he's secular. He represents to me the right wing, the neocon faction of Israel. They take more land because this is what it. I don't know where he gets justification. I don't know if it comes from God or because he's he's like a real estate agent with a gun. I'm not sure which it is. All I know is that I know what both sides tell me, and both sides' leaders are full of shit. I know that Hamas are religious extremists, and yet I know everyone in Gaza just wants to live peacefully. And I know, and they'll tell me, if they tell me they put the gun down, they're going to say from blada blada to the sea. But then if you go over to the other side, they're going to say, but blada blada to the sea. And so maybe both sides should learn how to share their toys. I don't know.
But
easy for
where
me
does
to
it go
say
long
it's not
term?
our land.
Yeah.
Oh, our long term is eventually enough generations have to go past that they have to forgive the crimes of their parents, and I'm talking of both sides. I'm talking. I guess I am. See, here's the problem, James. When I say I'm not both sidesing it, is that I don't want to seem like there isn't a problem. The problem is that these leaders will not take anything but 100%. One side are the victims in genocide. Well, I mean, they're both terrorists. They're all right wing. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, the BB is bombing indiscriminately, and Hamas has done. I don't know why they did October 7th. Well, they did October 7th because Israel was getting very close to being friends with Saudi Arabia. But now and
they'll tell you it was to provoke Israel. But.
Yeah, well, and now they're friends with Saudi Arabia. That happened anyway. And so I don't know. What all I will continue to say is that if you want peace in the Middle East, you need to figure out how to secularize the governments, and you need to put liberals in control. Because if the liberals are in control, you are going to find people who want peace. Yes, we are boring oftentimes. We are often the middle ground. We are often reformers more than we are revolutionaries. I do have a little bit of, I got a Viva la Revolution in me, but we are often more taking, change at one piece.
They're incrementalists, is what you're an incrementalist, is what you're trying to say. Gradual.
But nonetheless, it has to happen, and that's the only way it's going to happen, and it's going to be from both sides rising up against their leaders, taking back, taking back their movement, taking back their country, because the people who run it right now are, I think the technical term is assholes. I don't want to defend any of the bad things that any of these leaders are doing, because right now there's no lesser evils. It's, again, if you look that all the people on the battlefield right now, everyone is right wing. So my cry to all the people out there is let's get new leaders. I mean, we got to do so here.
Just everybody become liberal. I mean, that would be nice. Don't get me wrong, that would be nice. But
here's what I would say to that. Yes, not liberal as in like you have to be big L liberal. But yes, I would actually, not to pull this card. What's up, Ian Davenport? Well, you were always talking about what my views are almost, they used to be bootlicking, but now it feels like everything swung a little bit, at least towards the right with these right-wing things, is yes, liberal values are Western values. I'm going to pull that card. Like the freedoms that we espouse, the pro-women's rights, pro-LGBTQ, pro-minority. This is what makes this country great. It's what makes all of these liberal Western countries great. And it's not to say that there isn't a need to conserve, and that's what I would actually use, a proper non-straw man, a charitable definition of a conservative. We need those people. I'm more of the spender. But you know what, James? Healthcare is worth fighting for. It's something to be proud of. It's something that came from Western medicine. And insurance companies are crooks. No offense to insurance companies. Now I am starting to put my... Now listen, my insurance company, which is Kaiser, is fantastic. It's the way an insurance company should be, because it is almost government insurance. I have a earring. I have liquid in my inner ear. I just found out, impeding me from some of my hearing. Now I had to pay to see my general practitioner. That was $15. Then I had to see a soundologist, which is a cool title. That was $20. And I think I'll have to see another ear, nose, and throat doctor finally. That'll be another $20. However, James, 3 doctors, and I have paid between $55, $60, depending on taxes and stuff. I mean, that's fantastic. That's the way it should be. I have no problem paying hardworking people, especially people in the medical field, for the wonderful work that they do. But these medication companies, pharmaceutical companies, drug dealers that are able to take cancer medications or insulin or whatever and mark it up for thousands of dollars, they should be, James, this is the direct punishment. They should be, I'm fairly sure, hung up by their balls. Can we do that? No, I'm just teasing. Again, I want my liberal values. I would not actually do that to them. That's what they deserve, however, but they should get due process for being scumbags. Anyway, I'm about to hand it over to you, actually, James. I'm going to be right back for a second. I am going to say we are probably half to 2/3 through our stream right now. We may just keep on ranting, but James is so cathartic to just get it off our chest. It seems like we're not going to have any theists that are going to challenge us. I think that's just because there is no evidence for theism. I think that's what would make sense, because if there was, they would join us and tell us why. In fact, I'm going to even add in join us theists. Or skeptics, why not? Blada blada. Come on, right down here. All right, James, I'll be right back. But
she's baiting you. She put the challenge out.
But James, no gods physically exist?
No gods exist? Well, we certainly haven't seen any reason to believe that they are. Amy always used to make the point that why would a god exist? Like why would a being like that have agency, have senses and desires, and because all those things on Earth, they really function to keep us biological organisms alive. That's what they do for us. why does God have that? We use our senses to find food, to keep us alive, to keep us safe. But God doesn't really have any predators or anything like that. What purpose does he even have to exist? And well, you can't really answer that. In terms of physical existence, well, lots of religions they used to imagine their gods physically existing, like the Greek gods. They lived on the mountain, as Aaron Ross says, until they climbed the mountain and found out there was nobody there. Well, then they imagined that they lived in the clouds. Well, we went to the clouds and there's nobody there either. And now we build space telescopes that look out billions of light years into the past in distance, and we don't see anybody there either. So kind of just looks like there's nothing there. Like there's nothing out there to see as far as gods are concerned, unless they don't want to be seen, which, well, hey, could there be something somewhere in the multiverse of multiverses, if that stacks infinitely, that you might be able to call a god? I mean, maybe, I guess, I don't know. We don't know everything that's out there, but we certainly have seen no reason to think that there actually is. I haven't anyway. All the gods that we have been proposed, all the examples, all the a lot of them, the Kalam, they deal in abstractions. They talk about necessary beings and almost semi-deistic concepts of gods, and impossible to falsify because their properties are not well defined. They're nebulous, they're abstractions. But anytime we move beyond that, anytime we have nailed down properties, and anytime one has taken a swing at it and made a proposition for a god, what do we see? We see that they're clearly man-made. They're full of absurdities and riddled with contradictions. There's just no there there. They're clearly products of the cultures which invented them. You look at the Abrahamic gods. They're clearly products of the people who made them up. They were invented for reasons, for political reasons, social reasons at the time. They fulfilled needs that societies actually had. So they were made up, and most societies fell away. And you think, does anybody today worship the Egyptian gods? Does anyone think Osiris is real? I mean, no. I mean, they built temples to him, temples for Ra. Does anything Ra is real? No. I mean, they built statues, monuments, temples to him. Same with the Greek gods. Does anyone think that the Greek or the Roman gods still exist? No. The Nordic and Germanic gods that existed, does anybody still think? Well, I guess a few people might still think they are. How serious that is versus how much it's just nostalgia, or it's cool to talk about Thor and Odin. Does anyone really think they exist? I doubt it. At least in any appreciable numbers. You might have a few people who cling to them, but anyway, people today, they seem to think this is like new. This has been going on forever. This has been going on for a long time. These faiths come and go. These deities come and go.
I don't know what you're talking about, James. I've actually seen Thor. He's going to be coming back on Avengers Doomsday.
Well, Odin, you see Odin or Woden, the Germanic version.
Yes, Woden. But you're right. I mean, they almost use those. They kind of make fun of the polytheistic religions. You know, those weren't real religions with real gods. And like, okay, that sounds like a little bit of a no. True
Logic
Scotsman.
math does not exist. Well, so they're abstractions.
We use logic and we do reasoning, and math is kind of this weird thing. It's a language.
It's a form of logic, basically.
We have math that represents reality. We can create mathematics that is just fun and doesn't actually represent the universe. Also, thank you so much, Ian Davenport.
Oh, thank you, Ian. Very kind of you, Ian.
Yes. Tag.
But if you look back at like the Old Testament, like our Bible study, like we read lots of stuff, and I mean we struggle to find meaning in it today, but it did mean something at the time to those cultures that wrote it, and it did serve a purpose, even though that's, for us today, it may seem like meaningless filler, and it is meaningless filler, but it did serve a purpose at a time.
And I hate fillers in animes, James. It's just doing backstory or just creating plot lines that don't make sense for that extra money. Anyway, just for the hell of it, two objects would be two objects no matter what you call them. Yes, you are describing the law of identity, and we're talking about the laws of logic, which are tautologies. They're just saying themselves over again, mostly so that we're not crazy, because everything that is, isn't, and can't be and not be at the same time. However, it would be crazy if that were different. If everything that is was also was not, is not. It would just be a universe that was incoherent, and
do we need a god to derive that from anything? Do we need that, a god?
Laws of logic, truly. They're just making sure we don't go insane, and they seem to apply to the universe. But they do
broadly
not
speaking
prescribe or describe a god.
That's when I can't even think, where do the laws of logic come from? Where does that come from? If there's laws, there's got to be a lawgiver.
Preconditions for, my favorite word, intelligibility,
here we go.
are necessary.
Here we go.
You cannot ground logic or math. Well, the preconditions for intelligibility is your brain. And so that is why things are intelligible. That's why you are able to know things. You don't need to ground logic or math. You want to know why you're able to understand anything and why you're able to comprehend it. And the answer is because you are an animal. And I meant that in the best possible way. We're all animals. We are mammals, primates. And this allows us to have higher order thinking, subjective brain that grounds objectivity. So prior to brains, it did not exist. Well, no, your brain objectively exists, but it has subjective brain states. You guys separate those things out. It allows you to know things. So, for example, your brain is trying to understand the color red, but that's really more of a subjective assessment. Really, all of the other colors of light are being absorbed, and it's just sending that back to your eye. And so, although there is an objective wavelength of the color, that is your brain's best subjective representation of a red, juicy apple.
Which, by the way, color is not intrinsic to the universe. It's not intrinsic to reality. Evolution just invented it to distinguish different things of light. So when you ask what does like the universe look like, it doesn't look like anything really. It's the whole concept of look is something invented by evolution.
Also, the person who created the Kryptonite song did recently pass away. Sending so much love.
A lot of people passed away.
He was ironically a Christian, but he was a cool guy. Trying to remember his name right now. Three Doors Down was the band, and now I'm trying to remember his name. Anyway, atoms do not ground logic. No one said atoms ground logic. In fact, I'm not sure we need to ground logic. I try to explain to you intelligibility. That is to say why you understand and comprehend things. You could ask, why is the universe able to be comprehended? And we can go down why we are carbon-based life forms. Again, morality, consciousness. James and myself have slightly different views on morality, and yet we come to, interestingly enough, very similar answers in the long run, because I'll continue to say that atheists are the ones that are the people who should be talking about morality, because God's morality is subjective morality that claims objectivity. And consciousness. No, consciousness comes from your brain and your mind. And so we could talk about that, and we could talk about why, theology doesn't seem to be adding to any of these subjects. Look at all of these different subjects, James. Has theology added to any of these? Zero. Hold on one second. I may have to change my.
Actually, tries to complicate things and make things, more confusing.
Yes,
adding
indeed.
unnecessary additional pieces.
Hold on, cat one's in, cat one's out. Okie dokie.
Which is this one?
Philosophy gave us science, logic. We did not. Philosophy. Oh, I'm not laughing at philosophy. It's just funny.
I'll laugh at it.
He didn't say theology, James. Didn't say theology. He went, and because philosophy is the mid ground between theology and science. So I would also want to talk about. Yeah, that's true. The natural philosophers were the original scientists. That is true. But now we have scientists, and philosophy is used in hypothesis making and truly the beginning of the scientific process is asking a question. And so, yeah, we did not create, but discovered what was already present. We did not create, but discovered.
That's all of science, really. We're just figuring out how things work.
But that doesn't do anything in your camp, in my opinion. I mean, but sure. Ought is not grounded in evolution or the mind. Sure, we have the is-ought problem. I think I have some answers to some things I can't solve every is-ought problem, but I can make some objective statements even about morality.
What is truth?
What exactly? We know certain things are wrong. I agree. Evolution does not account for truth. I agree as well. Yes.
Well, certain things are wrong. Do you mean in like a moral sense, or do you mean in terms of like certain things are wrong, like the Earth is flat? That's wrong. Well, we know that's wrong, but
to me, sometimes it's also a game, because I realize that a lot of this language does stem from a religious viewpoint, like moral and immoral, and yet
that's where I think it's leaning.
I can make statements. So graping someone is objectively wrong. It is objectively immoral. And the reason I say it's objectively immoral and wrong is because there is no situation in which you can morally grape someone. Not a single one. It is a moral contradiction. And what you can do is create situations by which it's the lesser evil. Now, lesser evil will never not be evil. And I'm willing, open. You say you don't grape this person, and the entire world explodes. There's a million different ways and hypothetical situations in which you could make it the lesser evil. It'll never not be evil. And yet these type of arguments, which I could have with James, because I still think there are many, many subjective components. Even with that one thing, I would say that theists have no conversation in morality. None. Because my objectivity has to come from, I have to have standards that would apply to everyone. I would have to have something where a religious morality is might makes right. Truly might makes right. And might will never make right.
Well, sure, yeah. It's not objective morality, it's an imposed morality. It's a big stick morality. He's got the biggest stick, so therefore he makes the rules.
And that seems to be the vast majority of religious morality to me, and that makes no sense. He's
not convincing you that his version is right and forcing you to concede. You know, he has his opinions, other people have theirs. He's just telling you that he's gonna beat the shit out of you if you disagree with him.
Yes, and you know, a lot of them have their version of hell. You know, how big the stick is, James, and what color the stick is, it changes depending from theist to theist.
The concept of the stick, but
and by the way, Roman Catholic Exposed, we love having you give us the flack back. Feel free to join us if you want. So we love talking to you in chat. Feel free to join us as well on StreamYard. We have about, I would say, 30 minutes or so left.
Give or take, yeah. Unless somebody comes on.
Then we'll probably be here for the next day or two. Give or take.
I can be here until 7 a.m. Monday. That's when I have to report to work.
Exactly. So, come one, come all. But I know some people are behind, you know, they're doing something right now. I'm in sweatpants myself, I understand. But right down there, feel free. You don't have to put your camera on. Oh, James, it feels so good to be back. It feels so good to be taking pot shots at religion again. La da da da. I would continue to talk about, I mean, we could talk about morality. It is an interesting subject. It's just that I think that the hard work and the heavy lifting is all going to have to come from atheists. Because I'm, you know, as with everything, I'm somewhere in between. The objective, subjective words only mean something to, in many ways, because the theists have pushed us in that direction. It's more the interesting question to ask: what is moral? What is immoral? Where do those concepts come from? A lot of it, I do think, is derived from us. It is subjective in many ways. I think that stealing...
I'd say entirely.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I understand, I would say the vast majority of these moral questions that we ask are going to have a vast majority of subjective components. The ones that I talk about, like not being able to grape and things like that, I'm trying to think. There was another one, slavery. Can't imagine.
What about the person doing the graping? Would they agree with you that it's wrong? or would you have to get into subjectivities and consensus?
Here's where I agree with you, but what I would say is, in my example with grape, I don't think that's up to opinion, because what I have said to myself, and I could be wrong, and I'll continue to ask the situation, is, can there be a moral grape? And to me, because of it being such a violation of will, basically by definition, because if you're
Sure.
into it and you give permission, then it's kind of, it ends up just being a kink or whatever you're into. And so it's like, I talk about those to counter their examples of objectivity, when I understand that most moral situations are more towards what you're saying and subjective.
Right.
The example I would give is stealing bread. We would have to look at the millions of factors for why this person is stealing bread. Are they a rich person that just gets a thrill out of, they just like stealing? They don't even need the bread. They just really get a rush.
Some rich people just like to steal, yeah.
Oh, I know. And as someone who used to work at Walgreens, that was like identity theft was like their rival, their villain, the main thing that they lost money from. And so I would say, not only is there a difference, but there's a whole spectrum of course, we could do the exact opposite. We could say this person is stealing bread because they want to feed their family. They really don't want to get caught. It's shameful, and they even know it's wrong, and they're kind of breaking their own morality for what they view, to bring the lesser evil thing back up as the lesser evil of saying, listen, sure, I may even get caught, and yet, you know what? Tonight, my family has food. And so that, I think, is what more moral situations are. The problem with admitting that, just you and me, is they go, aha, so there's even a little bit of subjectivity, and there's a lot of subjectivity, but then they go, so then it can't be that your morality doesn't even matter at all, James, because there's even a mental component to it. You don't even get to have a thought in the conversation. And so I talk so much more about objective morality to counter their, forgive my French, stupid version of basically the ends justify means version of objective morality. Yeah. I mean, I try and get... And so, Theus, if you disagree with us, and, you want to argue with, I mind James's. That's the great thing about being an atheist. There is no atheist morality. There is no. I can't.
You don't have to. Yeah, there's no one box you have to be in.
Yes. And again, they might say, "Well, then isn't that evidence?" But I'd turn that around. There's also no theist morality. What happens is there's popular versions. There's divine command theory.
Really like the idea that, everything top down, that we have, no, things are messy. Reality is messy. Reality is not neat and orderly all the time.
That's just the way life is. Unfortunately, you have to find it in the gray, and hopefully it's Christian gray. Ooh. Yeah.
Well,
our theist friend left us for a little while, though I'll continue to say, anyone out there, God doesn't exist. Keep on, I am a trap, James, and so I have to continually throw bait out there.
Better than Ember out there.
First of all, we multiply, So I should have known that would happen. That's how it works.
Yeah.
What is up, better than Amber? Oh my goodness. And then what happens is we take over the West, James. And it started a while ago, all right? He tried to destroy us, and then he had a rainbow go over Sodom, and we looked up and we're like, oh, that'll be ours. You just wait. But Amy, have you considered that math exists, and math only works because of curves, and curves prove the flying spaghetti monster because of the possibility of the contrary? Yeah, I never thought of that.
That's some advanced ontological reasoning. Epistemological, ontological, tautological. Yes.
James,
how much philosophy jargon can you cram into a sentence?
See, now we could imagine AI, all right? And so we can imagine AI slop being created for hours and hours on end. But he was before AI. I mean, there were learning language models. There was already AI, but it wasn't mainstream popular. This gentleman was truly generating content where he said that he had sex with God. And
I thought you were going to say Mr. Batman.
Oh, Mr. Batman?
Mr. Batman, yeah.
No. How long does Mr. Batman do strains? No, what's
he transcends AI.
Was doing he had like 4 people, and he did videos for hours and hours and hours, and they were nonsensical. They made no sense. Like long paragraphs that he would rehearse, and
Mr. Word Salad. Mr. Word Salad.
And he had a phrase too. I'm trying to remember. And it was every time that excuse me or respond to me. What do you? I forget. Well, his shtick. Anyway, what's up, Ember? I'm complaining about the person while I have Ember. Sending so much love to her. You should be checking out her content and Maya's content and all of the skeptic content out there.
The square root of the flying spaghetti monster's legs, his appendages, is proportional to the inverse square law of
someone's gonads. Yes,
basically. Of a 15-foot whale penis.
But we love our deist arguments, because that's what, unfortunately, all of the good Christian and Muslim apologetics are. Because if they had to debate, their religion, it would sound a little crazy.
Stupid. Yeah.
Yes, it sounds a little stupid. Excuse me. Giant meaty balls. Yes, indeed. Math proofs are absolute. Now we have proven mathematically the flying spaghetti monster exists. And then, as Sinister was alluding to, checkmate atheists. Oh my goodness.
Now, I believe I heard Ken Hoven say that how Ken Ham has his arc in is that Kentucky or Tennessee? One of the two. Ken Ham has his ridiculous art thing. But I think Ken Hoven's going to build, he said, a 1/3 scale model of the arc. So a mini arc encounter in Alabama.
Wonderful. Another tourist trap.
I mean, hey.
Very much hope they get water insurance, because hopefully they learn from their friends.
Water damage, yeah.
Water damage, yep. Sending love, Ember. That's okay. And I mean, we're sending bait out there for skeptics. We love our whole skeptic community out there. But again, if you're a creationist, we'll give you all the space you need. We have bottles of water ready. I'll give you a candy bar, whatever you need.
The person who is arguing for historical Jesus with Godless Engineer kept trying to say that that mythicism was like young Earth creationism, and God, he was driving Godless Engineer crazy with that. Yeah.
No, it's perfectly reasonable to, talk about the historicity of someone thousands of years ago, but to say that the year is of the Earth is 6,000 to 10,000 is flat. That is the equivalent of flat eartherism. It is 99% wrong. Those two numbers, it's the difference between someone in your bank account giving you 6 to 10,000 or 4.5 billion. It's a slight difference, James.
A little bit.
But last call, everyone out there. So we are
last call for Whale D.
For the Whale D. What's up, Tubin? What's up, Manic Pixie? What is up, everybody out there who we didn't say hi to or if we missed? And we've appreciated all the love tonight so far.
We sure have. Us just coming on a random Saturday night.
Was that for me?
Yeah, we just needed to stretch our legs a little, our vocal legs. And James, the world is crazy right now. Every generation feels that way. But
pretty much, yeah.
We could give peace a chance. I really do feel like that hippie. I never quite understood all the hippies in Vietnam. I think I'm starting to get them. Sending so much love again to the skeptic community. And, all the theists out there. You could technically be a skeptic theist. But I would say our atheism kind of is derived from skepticism.
I watched the Netflix that they had a series. It was a single season called Boots. It was about the Marine Corps in the early 90s, like 1990. Did you see it?
I did not. That sounds cool.
It is. It's about a gay 19-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid who decides to join the Marine Corps anyway, and go through Marine Corps boot camp as a gay man, a gay recruit. Yeah. Don't want to spoil it, but turns out one of the drill instructors is also gay, and but it goes through this is a combat decorated Marine Corps non-commissioned officer, E5 sergeant in the Marine Corps. He's been into combat. He's done his duty for his country, and the whole thing, like the NCIS is investigating like whether he's had any naughty time with one of the with another Marine who they're also investigating for being gay. And it's like is that right? That was actually before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That was under where they just throw you out for being gay, regardless of whether you before Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
That was Bill Clinton's thing.
Yeah, that was Bill Clinton. But
also forgive me,
just the absurdity of it. Just the absurdity of it. You've got a guy who's gone in the Marines. He's become a non-commissioned officer. He's fought for his country, meets all standards, but we're going to investigate him and maybe throw them out because of who they're romantically attracted to, which is pretty ridiculous. It seems almost surreal today, but it was viewed at the time. It was viewed as a moral failing at the time. It's like because of because of morality is tied up in this religious nonsense that it was looked at as if you do that, then that's a moral failing on you. we would want people like that in the Marines because they're bad people. They're fundamentally evil people. You're on mute? What?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. You're back now.
Okay, so I'll tell you the double-edged sword of, you want to talk about, see, and then I lost my,
I was talking about the Marine Corps boot camp.
Well,
Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
I do know that we really only fought for one thing for the military, which is transgenders in the military. And that has now become a political football. And so we now have to fight for that again, unfortunately. And then after that, I mean, we mostly just want to be left alone.
Pretty much.
We wanted gay marriage. We wanted transgender. And if you ask why, there's many transgenders actually that were in the military. There was a higher percentage of transgenders in the military than the general populace. And so it actually really, yes. And so it actually hurts. I don't know why. There's numerous hypotheses as to why, whether some, want to try and, toughen it out of themselves, or maybe they, certain, the opposite, certain lesbians or certain transgender men just feel more comfortable in a masculine environment. Nonetheless, there's actually higher of both. FTMs, MTFs. The military hired a significant amount of transgenders, which is why the executive order messes so many up. But
what about in other countries? Is it similar, or is it unique to America?
Well, I mean, Western countries, but it depends on the specific country, and there's being kind of a reactionary movement right now to transgenders being welcomed into society. So, I mean, we had our peak almost exactly a decade ago, James, and ever since then, it has been basically us figuring out where they're trying to take our rights away. Because generally, we just go out and say, "Hey, we're here. We just want to be
left alone.
Yeah,
do our thing and don't mess with us."
Exactly. Just live life and be a part of society.
Right.
Assimilate. The ironic thing is, transgenders want to assimilate. They don't want to be. You may call it they call it a stereotype, but what it really is our version of femininity or masculinity in some form. Those generally are the two buckets. They fight over, so much over, they want two genders, and yet most transgenders are MTF or FTM. I support genderqueer. I think genderqueer is amazing. That also triggers them. The they and they them. They act like that is some really
that's beyond the pale. Society. We can't even talk about that. Yeah,
I know, and yet all of it is just like whatever. Like the people who hate all of these people, it's just like whatever. Yeah, okay, fine. Be angry at them. I think you're wasting your time.
I'm sure it'll accomplish a lot.
Panic. Yeah, well, and it's funny because it's a completely manufactured, and I know why they're doing it, because we create a emotional response, and we also. They're able to create good slogans around us. Like, you think a man's a woman? And it's like, well, no, that's not even what we're saying. And that is, we're saying that gender and sex are different, and that biological sex organs are not the same as gender expression, as what you feel. And then they ask, why are feelings even involved? And it's like, well, that's the subject, actually. Yes, every once in a while, we do have to talk about feelings because of who we are as human beings.
And then they jump in my feelings.
Well, yes, then they say my feelings, so everything is feelings. And then you go, well, no, not everything is feelings. Like the age of the earth is not up for opinion. James and I don't have feelings about what the age of the earth is. We just take what the experts say. But James feels like a guy. I feel like a woman.
But you know, they try to moralize that. Like, that's morally good. That's morally good. I am morally good because my feelings on that line up with my biology, with my body.
Sex. Exactly. Right. Because I have the genitals of one thing and yet I feel another, I have to feel dirty about it. Yes.
You're morally evil for having those feelings, yes.
The weird thing to me, James, is transitioning for me worked. As in, to me, I don't have gender dysphoria. Because gender dysphoria is a feeling of discomfort. And I felt uncomfortable as a teenager and even as a young adult. And I think, not to put a funny pin on it, but that's what every teenager and young adult feels like. It's kind of universal. And so it's like, but after 20 years, you start to tell yourself, maybe we could talk about knitting. Maybe we could, go see a movie. We don't have to worry about you. It would be like you spending 20 years doing content about being a man. And I guess there are, unfortunately, manosphere podcasts and stuff like that. But do you know what I mean? Could you imagine if being a man was your hobby?
Right.
It's just so, Now, I understand why LGBTQ people create content, because we're kind of defending ourselves. And so my hat is off to people. That's kind of why I say, James, I have come kicking and screaming as a defender of LGBTQ rights who needs to put my hat forward, because, James, I've spent 2 decades being told that I shouldn't talk about it, and that's going to be the way that I'm going to be accepted into society. It was kind of like, don't you gotta polite yourself out of this conflict, James. If I'm super polite about it and never bring it up,
if you make yourself small and you don't move and tiny, maybe they won't notice you.
And James, that's all you want to do is talk about identity politics, isn't it? Oh, that's all you want to do. So what did I want to do? I don't talk about identity politics. No. I have been forced, because they tell me that's all I care about. So I'll talk about it. And I'm
still not your focus
now. I'm
primarily
talking into a void. But again, I want to talk about religion, but in text chat, I have my own Godwin's law. Like, the probability in having a conversation in chat that it will eventually go to my junk is almost 100%. And it could start about God, which it almost always does. And it just becomes an ad hominem war. Okay, but you're sitting here talking about science and you don't even accept biology. And generally, they actually aren't even that charitable. They're generally just, you don't accept science.
Good night, Ian.
Good night, Ian. We're probably about to be going to bed ourselves. It's almost 3:00 here. But we're back, Midnight Ranting.
Remember, we used to keep the we used to go on almost every night until the sun was already up. See the sun coming out.
But at least I have time. But I have time now, and my glasses aren't broken. So,
not yet.
I guess. Oh my goodness! But yes, exactly, Amber. We are scapegoats. Can I tell you that even Insidious, if I put my full conspiracy theory hat on, James, which I'm not big into conspiracy theories, but nonetheless,
you can borrow mine.
The far right handlers that are pushing the anti-transgender thing are not very anti-transgender themselves.
Oh,
I really even think that. I think that even they literally were like just throwing things at the fucking wall, and they just were like they saw how emotional that the far right gets when you talk about transgenders, and they're like, listen, it's going to become like cinnamon. We're going to add this shit into everything, and it's going to drive up fear. And, you know, and it works to a degree. It doesn't work forever. Like, this is what I mean. It worked last election. There's no way it's going to work this election, because the fake fear is always going to be replaced by real fear. As
it's just such a small thing for most people.
Well, exactly. Well, what happens is it starts with, I really don't want illegal transgender inmate surgeries. And you're like, all right, that's randomly specific, but sure. And then eventually they're like, but gas is going up, but prices are going up, but I can't afford health care, but I can't afford tuition, but I can't, etc. But the job market is only hiring part-time jobs. I was breaking the unemployment numbers down the other day, and yes, unemployment is not that bad, and yet what's actually happening is full-time jobs are going away, and people are creating these strings of part-time jobs by which they have almost no benefits, not part of a union, not part of all of the things that, you know, are what would normally make a quote-unquote first world society amazing. Again, James, I'm not Viva la Revolutioning, and yet we need change. Something's got to change. It's getting me close to Viva la Revolutioning.
Eat them.
Oh my goodness. What's up, Mr. Creedon? We are probably wrapping up. Even I feel bad. I know you just got here, but I guess we'll do one last call while we can. Last call. Come on.
Last call for alcohol.
Call. Yes. You do not have to go home, but you can't stay here. But again, if you would like your beer filled or a last shot before you go, of course, if you're a theist, we'll continue to say we'll also stay on for like an hour or 13. But like, you have to join right there. But James,
except the preacher, not the preacher.
Not the preacher. 18 hours. That's why hyperbole. If you had just said, like, if you had said, I study for 5 hours every day, I just study the Bible, or like you picked at least something in the single digits, you and I wouldn't have bat an eyelash. We would have at least, because we have no way of verifying that. But when you say I study something for 18 hours a day, that makes anyone worried. Like,
but he said he did it for like 3 months, and he shut himself in his room, and none of his family had access to him, and he didn't do anything else. That's all he did for like 3 months.
Exactly.
And then
He got a superpower where he didn't need sleep.
His wife sitting on the couch, and he made it. Yeah, he asked his wife to confirm that he does spend this much time.
He sounded like a hostage, but
yes,
yes.
Yeah, he really does.
And I feel bad. All right, sending love to Philosophy Preschool, to all that. We've kind of drifted. Randolph, I'm not sure where he is right now. Sending love to him. Taco has been doing his streams, and he almost streams I think he does stream every day, multiple times a day. And so I don't think he sees right now the benefit of fully doing the whole activity as designed like that. But he's doing great content. So I'm sending love to Taco.
When was the last time you guys did it?
Head out to Taco. It's been a while. It's kind of my fault too. I'll continue to say that, I need to be on the ball and doing it and starting to light the flame myself.
Well, you weren't there was lots of others on the.
It's true, but the people, Tom got really busy himself, and he moved. He had a great thing. He had what we should have done is he switched almost entirely to premiering content he'd already done, or he would record content, release it, things like that. Even because he got busy with whatever his new job was.
Which Tom?
T-Jump.
T-Jump.
And so T-Jump, and then Taco he's just doing so awesome right now that I would have to I gotta really light this fire, and then maybe we'll get something. He's invited me on his stream 1,000 times. I just have to actually join. He's invited me, so it's not for him either. Just for the circumstances of the stream, but hopefully more stuff coming soon, because I have a bunch of ideas and it's just time, but I actually have it now, and it's about to be summer. Oh my goodness, 2 more months. I love my job. I love what I do. I love my school system. The kids are amazing and brilliant. And, I have a lot of good vibes at that school. What's that?
You have tenure yet?
I'm either going to get it this year or I have 1 more year. I'm not sure.
Close.
Very close, which is crazy. I can't believe how many years you get tenure.
It's been that, yeah.
But I'm proud of the work I do and the work that everyone does there. And looking forward to catching more Midnight Ranting. Woo-hoo! That is true. I will say, I think we are parking this car.
We're landing.
Taco got demonetized? Oh. Well, I'll tell you, our thing always rides that line too. What's up, Caffey? I feel bad you're just joining us now, and we're about to, as I said, park the car. Continue that analogy.
2-car garage.
We're in interesting times because, in my opinion, in some avenues, comedy's under attack. YouTube has tend to take our side, and that has tend to made me want to side with YouTube because they've defended us. But you never know. The tides sometimes change depending on the admin, unfortunately. But I'm enjoying this cultural reaction to the reaction. I don't think this is what people voted for. I think that people voted for lower gas prices. They voted for no wars. They voted for a more transparent government. Like I could steel man why you would have voted for a change in administration, and yet I could tell you, James, that almost all of those promises have been violated. That is the irony. That is the giant irony. Again, I don't think we ever had open borders. I can open that can of worms some other day.
Well,
but putting that aside, yeah, I mean, the tariffs themselves, because you could sit there and say, well, like, look, I'm a tax guy or whatever, and say, I've just been trying to get taxes for the lower middle class and no tax on tips. Great. Also, did you see that lady from the no tax on tips?
No.
Okay, so he pulled this lady who's like she's a grandma, and she was trending because she's like this regular grandma who has been doing she's done 1,000 DoorDashes or whatever the hell it is, and so they send her as a representative of DoorDash to celebrate him signing no tax on tips. And Trump is sitting there talking, and he turns to this grandma, and he's just like, yeah, they're just going crazy over there. You want men playing in women's sports? And she just goes, I'm just here to talk about no tax on tips.
Yeah.
And he goes, you're just saying that. And then he goes back to riffing or whatever the fuck that he calls it. Pre-dementia. But I get it. Biden was old too. I get it. But it was just funny because he tried to take a pot shot randomly at transgenders and sports, which is probably the most nuanced of all the bullshit transgender things that they have created. Nonetheless.
Well, I mean, they do spend lots of time worried about girls volleyball. It's the focus
they do,
of their...
and they care very much about locker rooms as well. And who, again, you wouldn't want some guy just walking in on underage girls' dressing rooms, because
you could see why that would be a problem, right?
That would be a problem, or presidential. I'm not sure. We'll find out one day. Is that okay? TOS gods, don't come for us. We love this president and the administration. This war is highly justified for reasons that we'll probably find out one day. I'm just kidding. It's oil.
Pete Hegseth. How about Pete Hegseth? He's the best Secretary of Defense ever.
He is the Secretary of War Crimes. I love that. I love Secretary of War. First of all, it is legally still Secretary of Defense.
Sure, yeah, it is.
I just love their preening. Seriously, that to me is the opposite of the ironic thing, because they make fun. They're like, oh, you want to go back to that one commander that was basically, they were transgender and they had short hair in the military, and so of course it looks a little silly to some people. I think it looks hot, actually, but to some people, if you have short hair and then you're sitting here with lipstick James and you're you're transgender this, and yet they were dressed very nicely in military garb like everybody else, standing like everybody else. But James, that is crazy. But paying however much it was to get his beauty studio, Drunk Seth needs to have a beauty studio for all of the conferences that he was having. And again, we need to double tap fishing boats. We need to triple tap girls' schools. This is what our money is paying for instead of, healthcare. All right, we could probably
came full circle.
We came full circle. I asked it, but I'm asking it one last time as I'm getting ready. James, any final subjects? We have been midnight ranting on no gods physically existing.
Great to be back, though.
Great to be back. Exactly.
Great to be back on the Midnight Ranting.
And all right. On this episode of Midnight Ranting, no gods physically existing, we explore the idea that gods do not physically exist in reality, but only as concepts in our minds and media for a physically good time. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. I do want to thank my co-host, James W.,
Thanks,
along with all of the people in chat, our mods who make the stream so great, and people like you. James, I need a sip. Forgive me.
Take a sip.
Oh my goodness. Okie dokie. Indeed.
Well, thank you. We'll be doing more Midnight Rantings.
Yes, indeed. Pookykins. Status quo is perfect. Leave us alone. We already liked, followed, and subscribed, TOS. What more do you want? Yes, please, if you like the show, continue to do that, as well as hit that bell icon to all, which allows you access to see our streams and our premieres and all of the fun under the sun and in the dark, whatever you're into. La da da da. And all right, we are going to be having more fun streams. We're just getting back in action, but I think with that, we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Ha ha ha.